Hello there, boxing fans around the world. Thank you for joining me once again here on Talk and Fight for another episode of Boxing News Today, where we run through the headlines courtesy of our friends across the pond at boxing247.com. Let's start off with a bit of news out of Matchroom today. They have signed WBA World Super Bantamweight Champion Mayerlin Rivas, and she's signed to a multi-fight promotional deal with our friend Eddie Hearn and his gang over at Matchroom. Rivas, 16-4-2 with 10 knockouts, landed the WBA strap in her last outing, traveling to Panama to beat unbeaten local favorite Laura Ledesma on points last February to bag the belt and become a two-weight world ruler in the process. The Venezuelan fighter won the WBA title at Bantamweight in June 2015 and made 3 defenses before moving up to 122 pounds and won the WA crown in her second title tilt at the weight, having been edged out via split decision for the IBF title to Marcela Arcuna in Argentina in October 2018. La Monita is looking to take on fellow champions Yameleth Mercado, who's WBC champ, and Singolane Lefebvre, WBO champ, and an eye on the winner of the Nikki Johnson and Melissa Esquivel clash, and they're fighting for the IBF belt in April. And the 34-year-old cannot wait to get back into action. She said, "I'm thrilled to be joining Matchroom. There's so many big fights out there with me and champions at my weight where I want to unify and become undisputed. Fights up at featherweight would be huge too. And I know there are many rising stars. It would be great fights too. So I'm looking forward to getting back between the ropes and showing what I do best." Great for women's boxing, great for Eddie Hearn. And let's continue on. And we see something I mentioned the other day. A key clash for the British Cruiserweight division will headline the Boxer Fight Night taking place this Saturday, in a few Saturdays, March 26th at the OVO Wembley Arena, as we see Richard, the Midnight Train, Riaporhe, 13-0, 9 knockouts, facing rising threat Dion Juma, who's 14-0, previously scheduled to fight different opponents on March 26th. The London Cruiserweight rivals are now on a collision course following the withdrawal of Fabio Turchi and Mikhail Lawal due to injuries sustained during training. 2 undefeated records are on the line in this huge clash of cruiserweights in the capital city of London. More importantly, Riaporhe is on track for world title contention in 2022, and a win here would be a career breakout for Juma and open the door for big opportunities for him as well. So we look forward to that tilt coming up in London, England. Elsewhere, we see that the fellas down in Detroit have set up another match. Eric Dileon is going toe-to-toe against Juan Jose Martinez on April 2nd. That'll take place down in Dearborn, Michigan, just outside of Detroit. Rolling on the exciting momentum of 2 sold-out events there in the past 2 months, Salida Promotions will return to the Lincoln Ballroom of the Ford Community and Performing Arts Center in Dearborn, Michigan on April 2nd. That's a Saturday night for another fantastic Detroit Brawl event. In the main event this time will be the return of one of Detroit's own, as undefeated power-punching lightweight contender Eric Dileon, who's 19-0-1 with 11 knockouts, will return after nearly 3 years' absence from the sport due to injuries faced to face hard-nosed Mexico City veteran Juan Jose Pique Martinez, who's 28-11 with 20 knockouts. In the main supporting bouts will be a pair of world-class contenders, as undefeated former amateur star Timur Kurakov, who's 12-0 with 6 knockouts, and WBC number 9, IBF number 15, WBO number 14 light heavyweight Ali Azmaliov, who's 7-0 with 5 knockouts, will both make appearances against separate opponents, while undefeated Grand Rapids, Michigan-based former amateur star Joshua Double J Pagan, who's now 1-0 with 1 knockout, will appear in a 4-round special attraction. Kurakov will take on divisional gatekeeper Cleotis Muki Pandervas, who's 21-9-2 with 9 knockouts in an 8-round showdown. The murderous punching Azmaliov, as well as Pagan's opponents, are yet to be announced, however. Tickets are available, and you can easily find them online or by calling up the Ford Community and Performing Arts Center box office, of course. All right, let's move on to our next story, which features Conor Benn. And he is facing Chris Van Heerden in Manchester on April 16th. Conor Benn will defend his WBA Continental Welterweight title against South Africa's Chris Van Heerden at the AO Arena in Manchester on Saturday, April 16th, which will be shown on DAZN, excluding New Zealand and Australia worldwide. The Destroyer, as he's known, who's 20-0 with 13 knockouts, secured a stunning knockout win over former world champion Chris Algieri last time out in December, taking the American out with a brutal right hand in the fourth round of their top-of-the-bill clash at the M&S Bank Arena in Liverpool. The 25-year-old contender from Essex holds top 10 rankings with the WBA, WBO, and IBF after notching 3 wins during a breakout 2021 season. And the British star believes that 2022 will be an even bigger year for him as he works towards a world title shot. The Heat, who's 28-2-1 with 12 knockouts, is born in Johannesburg, South Africa, previously held the IBO welterweight world title from 2011 to 2013, beating Kaiser Mabuza, Sebastian Andres Lujan, and Matthew Hatton during his title reign. Now residing in Santa Monica, California, must be nice, this 34-year-old southpaw is eager to test himself against one of the fastest rising welterweights in world boxing and should provide valuable rounds, having only been stopped once by Errol Spence in 32 fights. A huge undercard sees Bournemouth's European Cruiserweight champion Chris Billam-Smith, who's 14-1 with 10 knockouts, rematch Belfast's former champion Tommy McCarthy, who's 18-3 with 9 knockouts, following their epic back-and-forth battle at the Matchroom headquarters last summer. The gentleman withstood a late fight back from McCarthy as he edged out a narrow split points decision and add to the British and European Cruiserweight titles to his Commonwealth title before defending his EBU crown with a points win over Dylan Brejon in Sheffield. Manchester super featherweight contender Zelva Barrett, who's 27-1 with 60 knockouts, looks to build on his impressive IBF world title eliminator win over Australia's Bruno Tarimo on the Parker versus Chisora #2 undercard, when he challenges European champion Farouk Kurbanov, who's 19-3 with 3 knockouts, a former opponent of Joe Cordina. Hard-hitting cruiserweight talent Jordan Thompson, who's 12-0 with a 10 knockout record, has scored 2 big first-round knockouts since putting pen to paper on a promotional deal with Eddie Hearn last June. And the 28-year-old from Manchester will be out to impress his home fans as he works towards his first title shot in 2022. Hyde lightweight prospect Campbell Hatton, who's 6-0 with 2 knockouts, quickly returns to action after earning the best win of his career over Joe Ducker last month. Little lever Jack Cullen, who's 23-1 with 9 knockouts, aims to bounce back from his stoppage loss to Kevin Lele Sadjo in December, and Alnwick welterweight Cyrus Patterson, who's 3-0 with 1 knockout, and he hopes to make it 2 wins from 2 fights in 2022. Said Conor Benn, "I'm excited to step into the ring with Chris Van Heerden. Van Heerden is a tough operator and a southpaw who will be in the ring giving it all in every round. For me and my team, it's now about fighting every style that we can face as we continue to head towards world championship status, and Van Heerden brings something different to the table that I've not faced before. With that being said, this is another stepping stone for me on my journey to the top. I haven't seen anything in Van Heerden's previous fights that I can't deal with, and I expect another explosive victory on April 16th. If he comes to fight or he wants to box, I can deliver that smoke either way. The AO Arena has to be one of the most exciting venues to fight in. I love Manchester. I get shown a lot of support up in Manchester. It's a fighting city. I bring the entertainment every time I fight, and I can't wait for April 16th. And we all look forward to Conor Benn taking on Van Heerden in Manchester, as I said, April 16th. Let's move on to a different type of story in the sense of what happens after your boxing career is over. 4-time 2-division world champion Brian, also known as Hawaiian Punch Viloria, is enjoying his next chapter of his life, following his Hall of Fame caliber boxing career as an elite trainer based in the Brickhouse Boxing Club in North Hollywood, California. Shortly after his last fight back in 2018, Viloria decided to start working as a trainer at the Wildcard West, now Churchill Gym in Santa Monica, must be nice, California, where he started developing his trainer skills working in the same gym as Freddie Roach, Robert Roberto Garcia and Joe Goosen. He says, I was able to pick and choose from those coaches to create my own style. I knew that I wanted to be a trainer because I had a lot of knowledge and experience that I could pass along to the next generation of fighters. I took off the gloves and put on the mitts. I slowly built up my skills at Wildcard West with Julian Chua, a head trainer of 30-0 Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez. It was an easy transition for me. It does take time to break down a fighter to find out how they like to receive information because everybody is different. Some like to read books, others like watching. They need to have fun too. I want them to love the experience and the craft. How Viloria ended up at Brick House was a little unusual, and of course the pandemic played a significant role in that respect. Prior to the pandemic, Brian had learned that Zurdo and his manager, David Shue, were going to open up a gym. He says, they asked if I was interested in moving to Las Vegas, and then the pandemic came. 2 years later, in 2021, David called me saying they had found a spot in North Hollywood. It was a lot closer for me than Santa Monica. I only lived 8 to 10 minutes away from the gym, the Brick House he's talking about, and I still train 1 or 2 fighters at Churchill, my mainstay. My mainstay, though, is Brick House. I'm so close, I can go home and take a nap between training sessions. I wanted to create a brand from scratch alongside Julian to hone my skills as a trainer. I like communicating with people. It's a collaborative effort at Brick House, no disconnects. All the trainers communicate between themselves. Just because I won 4 world titles doesn't outweigh the other coaches. We are a coaching staff at Brick House, where everybody's input goes into making the consensus on fighters' decisions. The biggest thing is we're creating space at Brick House. We all check our egos at the door. It isn't about the trainers, it's about the fighters learning more. It's about fighters, not who's at the helm of the coaches. I love working on the coaching staff here. We're all making a name for ourselves as trainers by being on the Brick House staff. Viloria trains Champ Kielik, who's 15-1 with 10 knockouts, and Carlos Nava, who's 6-0 with 3 knockouts. Both fighters are in the 3-point management stable, which also manages Zurdo. The former world super middleweight champion and today a top-ranked world light heavyweight contender. Turkish super middleweight Kielik headlines a March 17th card against Andrew Hernandez in an 8-round bout at the Quiet Cannon Country Club in Montebello, California. The 27-year-old Kielik is living the American dream, having moved from Germany to the United States to enhance his pro boxing career. Viloria noted, he has great power and plenty of gas in the tank. He just needs to work on his defense instead of sitting in the pocket, throwing punches and getting hit too much. Great advice. We hear it often from our very own Tim Witherspoon. And I want to thank you once again for joining me here on Talk and Fight for another episode of Boxing News Today. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And we'll see you later on this afternoon, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, with Mike or at 4 for Knuckle Up.